Good evening, good afternoon, bonsoir, buenas noches to investors in North and South America. Ohio, good investor, 안녕하세요, 各位早晨. Good morning to investors in Asia. Buenas noches, good night to investors in Europe and Africa. I'm Daniel Yu speaking from Hong Kong. It's 20th March here and 19th March in Wall Street. This time, I have 4 main points to talk about. Number 1, settlement of financial crisis 2023. Number 2, technical analysis of 3 major indices. Number 3, control of inflation. Number 4, RRP fund flow of market. Subscribe, like, and share. Remember to click the bell piece. Watch our playlist again so as to grasp the continuous trend of the market and refresh your mind. The starter of the current financial crisis is the Silvergate Bank, which is involved in cryptocurrencies. On March 10th, Friday, in the market observation of the US Stock Express, the first sentence is fasten seatbelt. In the last paragraph is buckle up. What immediately follows is the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank, and then comes the Signature Bank and First Republic Bank. When everyone is comparing the crisis with bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers in 2008, there's an IBM, International Big Mouth, which is Donald Trump shouted loud and wide that the crisis would develop into the scale of 1929 Great Depression. Luckily, the Swiss Central Bank granted a loan of US $53 billion to Credit Suisse, so theoretically, the problem is solved, but just temporarily. However, in the US, there are still 5 banks in bad list and 20 plus banks in grey list. A time bomb is not yet fully dismantled, but the crisis really cooled down a little. The difference is that in 2008 financial tsunami, there was an Apollo minor asteroid attacking the Earth, but now Jupiter and Venus are protecting Earth from the outer and inner orbit with the Moon as final fortress. And the year of Rabbit is a year that will finally bring peace on Earth after turmoil. So no need to worry, the turmoil comes just after March the 6th, the awakening of hibernation. A lot of hidden problems thus awoke. Everything will be settled down in the spring equinox. That is the FOMC meeting. In the US Stock Express, I have already recommended several gold-related stocks last Monday, and they all worked out, including GOLD, WPM, RGLD, GDX, AEM, and OR. Also pointed out that Nasdaq would lead the market, and from the 7-day heat map chart, it can be seen that IT giants are all in green, like AAPL, MSFT, ANCN, NEDA, META, AVDO, which I already recommended several times, while banking stocks kept falling for the whole week. So please subscribe to US Stock Express that you can get the latest data every day. For item number 2, we come to the part of technical analysis. First of all, the head and shoulders of S&P already said not standard enough. So after the breaking through of the previous Friday, at once it had a drawback and went up above the neckline, but met with the resistance at 250 SMA and is expected to develop with the Fibonacci arc of 0.382 and 0.050 as supporting level. It is a distortion of clinking upward, which means the buying power is stronger than falling power. Even in a breakthrough, it is the same. So it's very likely to develop into a multi-right shoulder pattern. Hopefully it can find support at 3763 around the Clear and Bright Festival of April the 4th. As for Nasdaq 100, already said it is not a pattern of head and shoulders, but an Ursa minor pattern developing into Ursa major pattern. Actually, it is transforming from bear market stage 3 to bull market stage 1. But such a transition period may take half a year or more. So I reiterated several times that the second half of this year is better than the first half. We can see clearly that it is curving up with the Fibonacci arc. Please compare with the Nasdaq Composite of last week. Dow Jones is still the weakest of the 3 major indices and is struggling to go up to normal level and will surely take more time. The third item is the control of inflation. Originally, people thought the interest rate hike may end in May or at most in June. Then the interest rate will keep stagnant for the rest of this year and rate cuts will start next year. But now, the mission of Federal Reserve is permanently changed. Initially, their mission was to keep employment stable, but recent years changed to be in control of inflation. The recent financial crisis changed its major target to keeping the banking system stable and providing full confidence to general public. Even the Fed is complaining of malfunction in controlling inflation. When inflation first rose above 2.6%, that is over the watershed of 2.0% in March 2021, the Fed said it is just temporary, maybe due to recovery of pandemic in retaliation consumption, and took no action at all. thus last for 1 whole year until February 2022. The CPI rate announced in March is 7.9%. The rate hike cycle started, but the magnitude is just 25 basis points and still could not control inflation until June CPI reached 9.1% and announced in July. Thus started a strict rate hike of 75 basis points for 4 times. So the current crisis is actually led by the malfunction of the Federal Reserve. And the poll revealed that the supportive weight of Fed was lower to 42% before the crisis. That means if the Fed started the rate hike cycle earlier in March 2021, it would be in a mild and tender state, and the inflation would not go up as high as 9.1%. And even now, the rate of 6.0% is quite high. The last cycle of such a high inflation rate was in 1980s, 4 decades ago. For further understanding of the current inflation cycle, please refer to YouTube video 10 at 2022-1219. And if you want to understand the basic concept in the relationship of the market, you have to study the teaching video A9, Economic Indicators, and A10, Interest Rate. They are equipped with electronic handouts and certain tests so you can know your progress. Anyway, quite a number of people blamed the Fed and said it is their mistake that brought forth the current banking crisis, including Cathie Wood, the goddess of stocks, who started blaming since last September. Anyway, we have to wait for the FOMC meeting on March 21st of spring equinox, not only for rate decision, but there are still a press conference this time, just half an hour after the statement. People are waiting for Powell to express its rate outlook. For some would think that rate cut cycle can start this year, and some even said it can have 2 rate cuts in November and December. This time, Jerome Powell is not just talking about the interest rate of the Fed, but how they would tackle this greatest financial crisis since 2008. It will be all years for the whole world. Meanwhile, according to the general practice of the Fed, 1 week ahead of the FOMC meeting, all members must keep silent on interest rate and their policies. So we are unable to hear any hawkish or dovish speech even in the great turmoil of past week. This will be the first official chance of expressing Fed's attitude and policy to the current crisis. Besides, in March, there will be a release of the dot plot chart of the Fed, so we can comprehensively know the attitudes of all members of FOMC beyond the Fed Chair Powell. Last Friday, this March 17th, is known as Quadruple Witch Day, which is the simultaneous expiration of stock index futures, stock index options, stock options, and single stock futures derivative contracts. Actually, the last one, which is the single stock futures derivative contracts, has stopped trading after the bursting of COVID-19 in 2020. Now it should be triple witch, but some old brokers still like to use the term of quadruple, for they do not want to change. It is important not just of the expiration, it is the first trading day after the bailout of Credit Suisse, but the CS still fell for 6.9%. As for American stocks, the FRC even fell 32.79%. It shows that the market is not satisfied with the current policies. For even if it has profit-taking after 4 white candlesticks of penetration of Head and Shoulders, it should not be as weak as this. It is because of Janet Yellen said the Treasury would only guarantee deposits of under $250K, which means only help end users, and thus institutional deposits surely above this amount would not be included. Joe Biden also said institutional traders who triggered this turmoil should be investigated and responsible for their mistakes. Thus, we have to have observations on the RRP fund flow. For the recent RRP, the peak was in December 30th, 2022 at $2,553 billion. Then institutional buyers pumped capital into the market. Fund flow of January 27 was the lowest at the psychological barrier of $2,003 billion. And the recent peak of Nasdaq and S&P was met on February 2nd, 2023. Because of the drop, funds were withdrawn from the market, and on March 9th was at another peak. The Silvergate and Silicon Valley Bank brought about a fall in the market, but it also attracted capital to buy them up. That explains why the Head and Shoulders of S&P penetrated the neckline, but at once have 4 white candlesticks to have a strong pullback and above the neckline. For further details on RRP funds, please refer to YouTube video 12 at 2023-0102. Finally, for the market outlook, don't forget for International Criminal Court of Hague had already issued a warrant to arrest Putin of war crime, and Chinese President Xi is set to visit Moscow for March 20th, Monday this week, and Ukraine also shot down drones made by China, which prove China has supplied weapons to Russia. And the drone is using electric appliance from Taiwan. Another bulk amount of drones will be shipped to Russia from China in April. Ukraine complained China is embracing Russia, and the 12 points of peace are all in favor of Russia, not neutral enough. Anyway, peace talk cannot be fixed in a single day. For already several peace talks last year, I've already mentioned the peak of fighting is in the summer solstice of June 21st. So let's see how they make a song. So subscribe, share, and like, please. Sayonara, auf Wiedersehen, adieu, bye bye, see you next week.